Young people, some barely in their teens, are lured and manipulated into becoming property in the sex trade. It's called human trafficking, and Hampton Roads is among the worst areas in the country. Investigative reporter Chris Horne has the gripping story of one local woman who was used and abused for sex and money. He did some digging to find out what's being done about this growing problem. Chris?
Yeah, Nicole, Tanya Street now gives presentations to parents, young women, law enforcement, and anyone else interested in her mission. Street can recognize when someone has lost their sense of self, of dignity, and of worth. She lived the life, as she calls it, and knows the damage it can cause. We want to let you know that the following story has descriptions of sex and violence that may be offensive to some viewers. This story is about sex, but not about pleasure. Tanya Street says she was hit, slapped, knocked down, and punched.
Absolutely. Yeah, that is very common.
It's also about money and crime, but not about drugs. Attractive, successful-looking people on the outside.
He made sure that we dressed well. He made sure that we always used protection. We could never do drugs.
He's protecting his merchandise.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. But on the inside, the ugliness. They endure the soul-crushing ravages of human trafficking and psychological slavery. The Polaris Project ranks states based on trafficking victim support and aggressive laws. Virginia is towards the bottom, and Hampton Roads has the third highest number of hotline calls in the Commonwealth. Cops and congressmen alike are not surprised.
You have Virginia Beach, which is a resort town. You have travelers coming in and out of the area. You have Norfolk, which is the marine terminals come in there. You have a high volume of truck drivers that come into Portsmouth, Norfolk.
It's happening indeed in Norfolk, Virginia Beach, the Eastern Shore, on the peninsula, and it's a serious matter.
Congressman Scott Ridgel's office organized a panel discussion in August in Virginia Beach. One of the speakers was Tanya Street. She knows the life. She lived it for 2 years, 20 years ago. Sexually abused as a child, she met someone when she was 18.
He was a blind date at an amusement park.
She fell in love with the man who 4 months later would be her pimp.
Very handsome, big smile, very trusting. He knew his game. He knew how to play it.
She thought it would be a business venture, but then she was just one of the girls. It didn't take long for Tanya to break.
He knew how to get me to a point where I would break and hitting me would be okay. And so, but prior to that, he would beat girls in front of me.
Tanya's pimp and as many girls as he could fit in his car became Tanya's family. They were trafficked up and down the East Coast. Hotels, yeah, but warehouses, offices, wherever. Didn't matter where to the pimp, just how often and for how much. Thousands of dollars each night. Tanya quickly learned you make a lot more money trafficking people than you can trafficking drugs.
They can use that person over and over and over again, whereas with drugs, once you use that, that's it.
Easy to profit, but hard to prove. Portsmouth police say in order to make a case for human trafficking, you need complete victim cooperation. So patrol officers are out there looking for victims. They're carrying these cards. They have a list of questions to get them to start a conversation.
Hey, I see you're hanging out with him. Are you free to go whenever you want to go? Are you free to leave? Can you go home? Where do you stay? Where do you eat? How are you living?
Congressman Ridgel supported legislation with tougher penalties and more victim support, just signed last week by President Obama.
This is a worse problem than most people imagine. Certainly, that's true for me.
Street now does local presentations and provides a sympathetic ear with her support group.
It's just relationships.
Okay.
It's just building a trusting relationship. There's no curriculum, there's no rhyme or reason because everyone has their own story. Okay. And as people who've been trafficked, we get that.
Street realizes she's one of the very lucky few to get out and recover. While she was being robbed by a John in D.C., she says she heard a spiritual voice that reminded her that she had a son. She decided to run and encountered a cop who ended up being her savior.
After he heard my story, he said, I'll pay you to get on the bus. I'll give you money to get on your bus, to go get your son, and to go back home.
Street realizes how uncommon it is for someone to recover the way she has.
I don't see it often, which is why I'm doing this. That's why.
Tanya Street's organization is called Identifiable Me, and we have the link, as well as several other resources available now on wavy.com. There, you'll also find my 30-minute extended interview with Tanya. That's not all, too. Tonight on Wavy News 10 at 10 and 11, I'll have specific action steps for parents to protect their kids from human trafficking. Chris Horne, 10 on your side.